Order. Oh, that's really loud today. Yeah, yes. I call this meeting to order. My name is Chris Palmer, and this is the Standing Committee on Human Resources. I apologize. So I am Chris Palmer, the MLA for Kings West and chair of this committee. Today, in addition to reviewing appointments to agencies, boards, and commissions, we will hear from the Halifax Professional Firefighters Association, the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia, and the Department of Labour, Skills and Immigration regarding support for firefighters. So at this time, I'd like to ask everyone in the room to please put your phones on silent or vibrate. And you may have noticed in the time in the room here that there's construction work taking place around us, and it can be noisy at times. So hopefully it won't be too much of a distraction. There may be the occasional loud blast or bang without any warning signals, so don't get too excited about that. We'll try to give you a warning whenever possible. So I'd like at this point all the committee members to please introduce themselves, and we'll begin with MLA Sheehy Richard.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Even my voice is loud. Chair, I'm Melissa Sheehy Richard, and I'm the MLA for Hants West.
Hi, good morning. I'm Larry Harrison, MLA for Colchester Musquodoboit Valley.
Good morning, Johnny McDonald, MLA for Hants East.
Good morning, everybody. Nolan Young, MLA for Shelburne.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Susie Hansen, and I'm the MLA for Halifax Needham.
Hi, I'm Gary Burley, MLA for Halifax Chebucto.
Morning, my name is Adi Dwale. I'm Halifax Armdale.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Tony Ince, and I'm the MLA for Cole Harbour.
Thank you, members. For the purpose of Hansard, I'd also like to recognize the presence of Legislative Counsel Gordon Hebb to my right and our Legislative Committee Clerk Judy Kavanagh to my left. Before we begin with our questioning with our guests today, we will proceed as our HR committee to our agency, board, and commission appointments. We'll take care of a bit of business first, and then we will begin with our questioning in a minute. So we'll now pass this over to MLA Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a motion for the Department of Advanced Education. I move to recommend that Alan McDonald be appointed member of the Acadia University Board of Governors.
So there's a motion on the table. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is carried. MLA Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have another motion for the Department of Advanced Education. I move to recommend that Christine Bonnell Eisner be appointed member of the St. Mary's University Board of Governors.
Motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is carried. MLA Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the Department of Health and Wellness, I move to recommend that Cather Bello, William Hatfield, William C. Hart, and Roseanne LeBlanc be appointed members, and that Denise Rooney be appointed chairman and member of the Nova Scotia Advisory Commission on AIDS.
Thank you, MLA Young. There's a motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. MLA Young.
Okay, last motion. For the Department of Justice, I move to recommend that Laura Braz, Leanne Conrad, Paulette Anderson, Takumbo Amasai, and Jenna Shattuck be appointed members of the Law Foundation of Nova Scotia Board.
Motion on the table. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion is carried. So thank you, MLA Young. That concludes our appointments for agency, boards, and commissions. And if there's any other business, is there any committee members offering any other business in our meeting today? Okay. So where there'll be no other business, we will end our meeting after the questioning of our witnesses today. And then when our guests leave, we'll probably end our meeting at that point in time where there's no other business. So welcome to all of our guests here today. We're glad you joined us, and we look forward to the discussion we're going to have. If I could ask each of the members at our table to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into opening statements. So begin with Mr. O'Toole.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary O'Toole. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Safety Branch at...
Good morning. I'm Ava Czapalay. I'm the Deputy Minister of Labour, Skills and Immigration.
Good morning, Michael Sears, Halifax Professional Firefighters and the Provincial Rep for the Atlantic Professional Firefighters Association.
Good morning, Greg Jones. I'm the President of the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia.
Rod Nielsen, past President of the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia.
Would the guests and the chairs like to come forward and introduce themselves? We'll ask to have Mr. Nielsen's microphone turned on, please.
Jim Roper, also past President of the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia.
Daniel Gaudet, the current past President of the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia.
Thank you very much. So now we'd like to offer those who would like to offer an opening statement to address us now. So I guess we'll begin with Deputy Czapalay.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to be here on what's really the eve of a very special anniversary. 1 year ago this March, government made an important announcement in support of firefighters across Nova Scotia. Government made amendments to the firefighters' compensation regulations under the Workers' Compensation Act. These amendments increased insurance coverage of the number of presumptive cancers for firefighters from 6 to 19. This was a significant increase. It even introduced coverage of reproductive cancers for female firefighters that were previously not covered. This addition was critically important because we know female firefighters have higher rates of reproductive cancers compared to non-firefighters. Coverage was also added for heart attacks that occur within the first 24 hours of responding to an emergency call. As part of these amendments, government committed to covering initial and annual liability costs to a total investment of $80.6 million. This means municipalities will not be responsible for additional costs until 25-26. Following this change, in May of 2022, government made additional amendments to the benefits of firefighters and reduced the latency period for the purposes of insurance coverage of thyroid and pancreatic cancer from 15 years to 10 years. Nova Scotia is now a leader in providing this coverage. Manitoba and Yukon are the only other two Canadian jurisdictions that provide this level of benefit to firefighters. There are almost 7,000 firefighters in Nova Scotia, approximately 6,000 volunteer firefighters and 600 paid firefighters who protect us and risk their lives to keep us safe. In return, they deserve the added protection offered through the workers' compensation system. This work to improve supports for firefighters in Nova Scotia followed amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act in 2018 when post-traumatic stress disorder presumption was added to insurance coverage for first responders. Both paid and volunteer firefighters were included in this coverage as recognition that the work firefighters do can be impactful. We recognize that government and workplaces must expand thinking of injury as more than just physical injuries. We must consider psychological impact as well. Committee members, I want to share that the announcements made last year to increase workers' compensation coverage for firefighters was an incredibly important milestone for all of us at the Department of Labour, Skills and Immigration, particularly for those dedicated team members who work in the safety branch. Both myself and Minister Balser were also incredibly proud to see these changes come to fruition. We know the risk firefighters take every day, putting the lives of Nova Scotians ahead of their own. We are proud of any measures we can take to protect them and their families. We acted on these changes because we are listening to the firefighting community. Ahead of the amendments, we held engagement sessions with firefighters and organizations that represent firefighters and with municipalities who depend on them. We remain fully engaged with the firefighting community in all facets of our department's mandate. When it comes to workplace safety, recruitment and retention, and training and upskilling, we're listening and we're collaborating. In fact, this spring, we will welcome the Office of the Fire Marshal to the Department of Labour Skills and Immigration. The Safety Branch is working to ensure a smooth transition to LSI from the Department of Municipal Affairs, effective April 1st, 2023. We're pleased to welcome fire safety experts to the Safety Branch. We look forward to working together even more closely, supporting the Office of the Fire Marshal's work in the administration of building and fire safety policies, legislation and guidelines, awareness, education, outreach, enforcement, compliance and investigations, and technical services for building and fire safety. Similarly, the Safety Branch is focused on helping Nova Scotians understand the province's occupational health and safety rules. We use pathways to compliance to make sure workplaces are compliant with safety rules and regulations, and to promote our shared responsibilities in ensuring safe workplaces. Our message is simple: safety is everyone's responsibility. Alignment of these safety mandates will provide new and enhanced opportunities to focus on achieving better safety outcomes for Nova Scotians, and will help us build on the great work that is already happening. I'm very much looking forward to what we will accomplish next when it comes to addressing the needs of firefighters and fire safety. We want to support them as much as they support us. To the firefighters here today, thank you for your service. To those with firefighters in their families, thank you for your support. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sears, do you have opening comments? Mr. Sears.
Good morning. Thank you. I didn't prepare an opening set of remarks, but what I do want to say is what a privilege it is to be at this committee, to see the commitment from the government to work together with us to get the things that we need for our members and the people that rely on them. You know, recently, well, last year we worked with LSI and Health on increasing the coverages to presumptive cancer, and it's actually become the gold standard that's wanted across not only Canada, but it's working its way around the world. So we thank LSI and we thank Health and the government for standing on their commitments to firefighters, and we look forward to understanding more of the challenges that are faced on the career side and on the volunteer side. We face the same thing. And right now, our big battle is cancer and mental health and wellness. And it doesn't care if you're a career member or a volunteer member. So the collaborative approach of working together with everybody at this table is something that we're committed to with Atlantic Province's Professional Firefighters Association, HPFF, and the other associations involved. So glad to be here. Thank you for having us. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee members. You know, I'll echo exactly what Michael said as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. For us, this is very important for us to have the opportunity to meet with you folks and collaborate on issues and answer your questions. The fire service for us is very important, and the aspect of keeping it moving forward is. Our association, the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia, is dedicated to leadership and representation of the Nova Scotia Fire Service. Working with government, working with the public sector, and citizens in Nova Scotia, and developing, evaluating, and coming up with policies and programs that we can communicate back and forth. Throughout the pandemic, as most of you are aware, the fire service has continued to find ways to strategically move forward and maintain our operations regardless of the situation, and keep things moving forward. For us, working together in collaboration is key in providing support and assisting with the growth of our service. And we strive as an association to work with all of our partners to make things move forward for us. Education and understanding of the needs of the fire service is extremely important when starting new programs and initiatives. An example of that is approximately a year ago with the changes to the Worker Compensation Act, the supports that were provided to the fire service, which were very important. One thing we've learned is that as an association, when we're involved in the process, we can assist with reducing misinformation and misconcepts that get out to the fire service and to the general public, and maximize on the rollout. With that being said, there needs to be education and awareness to not only the fire service, but the public on the components of new programs and initiatives, and how we can blend that in and have things run very smoothly and roll out easily. Our association does identify a need for an annual Government Relations Day. with all members of the Nova Scotia Legislature to give an opportunity to discuss issues that we have, like we are doing today, and find ways to move forward and reduce the challenges that we have. We have been very fortunate to have the Joint Municipal Fire Service Review Committee. This is a committee that is made up of representation from the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia, the Office of the Fire Marshal, the Nova Scotia Association of Municipalities, or Federation of Municipalities, and the Association of Municipal Administrators of Nova Scotia, and representatives from municipal affairs. Unfortunately, since the pandemic, we've noticed that the Fire Service Advisory Council and the committees have not met, which is one point of collaboration that we've not been able to be part of. Governance in the Fire Service in Nova Scotia has been a revolving topic for many years. I've been in the service, as well as my colleagues here at the table, for well over 20 years, and we've always talked about governance. There should be a whole of government approach to move the fire service governance structure in our province forward. So we have a clear understanding of what it is and what the clear future is for it as well, including the establishment of a provincial department to have the responsibility for fire service governance. Thank you for the amendments to the Workers' Compensation Act. It has had a major impact on our fire service in Nova Scotia, and the same as Michael Sears indicated, across our country and even down into the States, people ask questions about it quite often, which is really good to know that we are highlighting on that as well. However, with that, we need to do some further work to focus on developing a cancer screening program for all firefighters in our province. Often our members do not have a family physician, and they do face delays in cancer screening, which in turn causes adverse effects on the fire service, especially in the mental health aspect. There needs to be cancer screening for our firefighters. We have noticed that the mental health program that we currently have available to us in the province, which we truly appreciate, is geared towards a reactive approach. And we'd like to turn our minds to having a proactive approach, where individuals join the fire service, and from the time they join, they receive mental health training right from the get-go, which will assist them from then right on for the rest of their life and career. And for us, fire dispatch is a universal requirement that affects the fire service. Every time there's a request comes in, we need to effectively receive the response requests without delay. Personally, fire dispatch within our province may seem to have no concerns. However, in many cases, there are no backup capabilities, and there is no ability for overflow coverage or calls to be transferred to an alternate dispatch point for prompt action from a fire department. We need to look at the future. We need to turn our minds to technology changes that the fire service and municipal units may not have the ability to financially support. I thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to speak today, and the committee members. I look forward to your questions, and I also look forward to addressing firefighter mental health in our province, solutions for operational dispatch, and planning and finding ways to work together more collaborative on all kinds of topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I believe that concludes our opening remarks. So we're going to get into our question and answer period from our members to ask you questions. We will have questions till 11:50, and the protocol of this committee is by show of hands, so I will keep a running list of questions and then recognize the members who will ask you the questions. I will allow for a brief follow-up question as long as it's pertaining to the original question. I will keep an eye. If it's a separate question, I will ask you to put it off, but I will allow for a quick follow-up for a question. So with that being said, we will now open the floor to questions, and I will begin with MLA Burrow.
Thank you, and I really appreciate your being here. I think everybody, all parties, all constituencies, was very happy to see the expanded presumptive coverage. It's just an across-the-board, very positive move. I think people are particularly happy to see about the dimension that the minister was representing about the expansion of female reproductive malignancy. This is really just wonderful. But I'm wondering, does that mean that we? I guess my question is directed to Mr. Sears and Mr. Jones, Mr. Nielsen. Does that mean that we now have all the presumptive cancer coverage that is needed? I know that the list has always been expanded. Are there any areas of presumptive cancer coverage that we could look to be hoping to have it extended to? Or, relatedly, are there other areas of medical coverage? So we have PTSD, we have heart attacks, but are there other areas that we now should look to improve this gold standard that we've achieved?
So your question was directed to Mr. Sears and/or Mr. Jones, I believe, correct? Yes. So either you gentlemen want to begin, so we can start with Mr. Sears.
Thank you for the question, and through the chair. I would say to this point, we're sitting pretty good. Recently, IARC, through World Health, just reclassified firefighting as a Group 1 carcinogenic hazard. So as that research continues to move forward, and we advance through our screening and toxicologist recommendations, there likely will be more at some point. Hard to say what that is right now, as the science is still evolving. To your question on mental health, I would definitely echo Mr. Jones's sentiment of there needs to be more education and proactive. Like, we've got a culture that needs to change, and it's simply put. And I can speak on that further if anyone has any other questions, intimately and openly. So I think that there needs to be obviously an investment in the mental health aspect, as it's unfortunately things cost money, and but it's how to best spend our money with the best return and investing in all of the people that are in need.
Mr. Jones, did you would like to respond to that question as well, or? Okay, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Through the chair. Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. It's a very valid point. Additional cancers and additional medical coverage is something that's always revolving, and it will continue to revolve. If we look back at what's happened here in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a lot of new information, a lot of new research has come out, and it's indicative of us to ensure that we keep looking at that. We keep researching and keep evaluating what needs to be changed and what has to be as part of our system. It's very nice to see the coverage that we do have in our province, but we do need to continue keeping that gold standard and keep moving it up as we move on.
Thank you very much. MLA McDonald. I'm sorry, you have a follow-up, MLA Burrow?
Just briefly, thank you.
Okay, brief follow-up.
Too, sometimes it's one thing to have coverage and another thing to be able to effectively quickly, easily access the coverage. So I'm wondering what the experience is being on the ground about accessing the presumptive coverage for malignancies, and also about PTSD, because sometimes that can be an issue. Could I direct that to Mr. Sears?
Mr. Sears.
As well?
Right. So with respects to presumptive cancer coverage, we had a member that was not an old man, was very healthy, didn't smoke, didn't drink, and he ended up, he passed away. It was a pancreatic cancer that took him quite quickly and aggressively, and with the increases in coverage and this member's file being assessed, it was deemed to be a covered cancer. So that's sort of our first experience with it, and there's been a couple others since then that have been essentially no delay and recognized. Just ask you to repeat the second question there you had about mental health. So that's a bit of a new one. Well, currently I'm actually starting a return to work. I was the first claim from Halifax for occupational stress, post-traumatic stress. And it's been a tough road over 5 months, learning the process as I've gone through it and looking to really help evolve, remove roadblocks for other people as they go through it, because it takes a lot, honestly, to step up and go through it. It takes a lot of support from the members around you, and it takes a lot of, it's funny to say, like, it was the scariest thing I've ever done. going into a burning building, no big deal. Taking care of myself and going through to deal with the impact of what 20 years of firefighting did. It's a lot to evolve there, a lot of room to go. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. MLA McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, thanks for being here. And as you know, I'm a member of a fire department for 10 years, and you're 100% correct, because it's always been for that. It's suck it up. It'll be and it's got to change. It's slowly changing, and I'm sorry what you went through, Mr. Sears, but I'm glad that you're actually going to be making it better for the next person going through and removing those blocks. And I think AFSANS and your organization help with the province on all the firefighters. So I do want to. I was fortunate enough to be there last year when they made the announcement of the new cancers and that. And what I want to know is, can you share what type of actions it means for firefighters? Like, what are the firefighters not going to have to deal with? I mean, I'll be honest, I'm happy that in the last year I haven't seen a GoFundMe, or we haven't had to do another auction to help a family out. So can anyone there explain like how that's helping out?
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the point around actions for firefighters. I will say that it does make a big difference. For any firefighter that has to go through cancer-related illness, PTSD, and other mental health illnesses, the fact that coverage is there, it gives us the ability to reach in, get access to it, and to have comfort that we're going to be financially viable throughout the event. It is the action of that happening has made a big impact. I know from many members that I speak with, and not only through our association, but locally through my department, it's made a big difference. And the GoFundMe part, that's gone away, thank God, and it has made a true impact, a true difference for all of us.
Thank you. No follow-up? Okay. MLA Ince.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all. And by the way, I want to say thank you to you all for your service, so much so. Given the current climate that we all are facing, labor shortages, can you expand on that for us? What's happening? How are things for you in the fire services with regards to getting new members? And maybe if you can give me an idea how long it takes for that new member to go from the beginning to the end.
So is that question directed to Mr. Jones or anyone on the panel?
Anyone.
So who would like to take a stab at that first? Okay, Mr. Jones.
Through the chair, thank you very much for that question. Labor shortage, same as any other workplace in Nova Scotia. The fire service has the exact same problem. I can tell you from information talking with our members in various departments, it is hard to get members to come out and join and become a member of the fire departments. So there's a lot of work done, boots on the ground by the departments to reach out, try and find individuals and encourage them to join. By the time someone joins the fire service, until they were 100% can do everything, could take forever. The amount of training that we take and the amount of different hazards and risks we deal with that we train for could take forever. But to get someone straight off the street, to get them in so they could do just basic firefighting, just a basic exterior stuff, we're looking at a year to 2 months. Or yeah, sorry, a year to 2 years, sorry. So it does take a fair amount of time. But within the fire service, and it's traditional, we've always done this, we make sure we train our members to the ability to get them out the door to start, at least providing service. But labor shortage for us, it has been an issue. COVID has had a big impact on fire service. We did lose quite a few members during COVID for the simple fact that other things happened in their lives. They didn't have to go to the fire hall every day. So it's been my notes on the fire departments to find ways to encourage folks to come back, to get them back in the seat and get them back to work.
Thank you. MLA Ince for a follow-up.
Thank you. And along with that, I've had some women in the community ask about hiring women in the service, and can you give me an idea how that's going? Or
Mr. Jones?
Thank you, through the chair. For me, I can just only talk for the information I have on that. I would have to go out and find some more information on it and bring it back to you on that point. But I can tell you that females within the fire service in our province and across Canada, the numbers have increased over the last few years. Regardless if you're male, female, or what ethnical background you are, the fire service is very diverse. And diversity for us is very important to increase that. There have been an increase of females in our service, and we want to see lots more.
Thank you very much. MLA Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure who to direct this question to, but I'm wondering how does Nova Scotia compare to other provinces when it comes to protecting our firefighters?
A lot of glances back and forth. So you're in the middle, Mr. Sears, so we're going to allow you to take the first answer to that one.
Okay. So thank you for the question, and through the chair to the member. How do we stack up against other provinces? I would say right now, obviously, with the presumptive cancer legislation, we're right up there in the top. I speak with one of my counterparts in the BC Professional Firefighters Association, and I would say we're lagging quite far behind in terms of mental health education, resources, training, access to. BC has invested quite a bit of money, and they've partnered with the medical faculty at UBC to specifically target issues faced by emergency responders, and in that instance, is pretty specific to firefighters. They do have a lot more resource, and resource brings obviously money that goes with it, so that's a component that we've got to fight against here. There's a willingness there, and again, across the provinces, to share information. And as my friends beside me from LSI can attest to, when we were doing presumptive cancer, it was really good to work jurisdictionally across and share all the info and share all the materials so that we weren't reinventing the wheel. And I don't think we need to in this instance either. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a follow-up? Mr. MLA? Okay. Thank you. MLA Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've had the privilege of watching Rod Nielsen operate for the last 40 years. and I know his commitment to the training and to being a first responder. I want to ask a question on the Public Safety Personnel Online Therapy Program for first responders. That's been about a year now in place. I'm just asking, how are members made aware of the resource, and how is that working out?
So, Mr. Sears.
If I could, is that PSP Net that you're referring to?
Yes,
MLA Harrison.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Sears.
Okay, thank you for the question, and through the chair. So I've spoken quite a bit with Dr. Schneider at SIPCERT, and it takes time to get the information out. It takes time for people to understand how to use it. I would say in terms of what I've heard from feedback from some members so far is that the information that's there is really good, but it's more geared towards the education side and not so much that if you're in crisis, going to the website to try to navigate through. That's where I think the disconnect seems to be from what I've heard from feedback. But it's like anything with an additional resource and more info out there. It's a step in the right direction, but nothing's linear when it comes to firefighter mental health. So something that works for me might not work for Mr. Jones. So it's creating those layers of available material, I think.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. PSP Net for us, about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, Dr. Schneider did come meet with our association at one of our meetings. Lately, we have been working with Dr. Schneider to find a way to get out in the field and actually do an educational component with the fire service. So we have some work in place right now with him on that, and hopefully within the next few weeks that'll be rolled out in more detail to the fire service. But in a few weeks, we're going to have our annual conference in Truro, and he will be speaking at our conference to start building that educational piece as well.
Thank you very much. So our next three questions will come from MLA Burrell, MLA Dually, and MLA Sheehy-Richard. So we'll go to MLA Burrell.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Mr. Nielsen and Mr. Jones about the long-standing issue of how various municipalities are able to provide uneven levels of insurance to their fire service people. You know, I know this is always an issue about life insurance. It's I'm presuming it must be true also of disability insurance, other benefits, and I know with the WCB coverage, there improvements have been made, but I wonder if you could comment on how this remains an issue and what might be the road to making improvements, what the Fire Service Association is calling for.
Mr. Nielsen?
Yes, that's been ongoing for many years. I do see some improvement in it. We did have a project earlier on with one of your, a pilot project, I guess we can put it, with Elmsdale Fire to sort of put a component together that covers the off-duty, because WCB only covers on-duty. So we have, that pilot project went very well to understand what the coverage would mean, and it includes mental health, it includes other disabilities, and it does include some insurance, life insurance. So to build on that, we are just in the process of trying to figure out what is the next step. But our challenge is we're dealing with 49 municipalities, and how do you get it even across without provincial guidance or whatever? So that is our real challenge, to get rid of the variability across the province. Yeah.
Thank you. MLA Dually.
My question will be pertaining for the Deputy Minister. I'm just learning this morning the transition of the Fire Marshal to the LSI. That's actually good news for me, because I see the link in terms of the growth of this province. This government has intention to double our population. Because of that reason, we need to adopt that growth. So could you give the committee the background of switching the Fire Marshal Office to the Municipal Affairs to your department? Thank you.
Deputy Czapalay.
Thank you for the question, and good morning. It's nice to see you. Regarding the transfer of the Office of the Fire Marshal to our department, of course, the Office of the Fire Marshal was in our department for many, many years. I'll say 80, but 80 years maybe. And then it went to Municipal Affairs, and now it's coming back. And as you alluded to, we have a shared safety agenda. And we feel that it will be an excellent fit. Both the Office of the Fire Marshal feels the fit is there, as well as Mr. O'Toole's branch feels the fit is there. So we're excited to welcome them back and to see what synergies we can jointly work on to ensure that the safety message is front and center. You mentioned our growing population, and of course, growing our population to 2 million by 2060 does require the safe and welcoming workplaces that I've mentioned previously to this committee to retain people here. So people will want to feel safe. They'll want to feel like they have the services that provide that safety, including fire services. And the good news is the expanded tax base will also support the expansion of fire services. So looking forward to the transfer of the Office of the Fire Marshal, and more to come on that.
Thank you. MLA Dually for a follow-up.
Sure, thanks. Do you think there will be any hiccup, any difficulties to switch the municipal affairs to your office? As we know, most of the fire service run by municipalities, especially small rural communities. Are you expecting any conflict within that change of structure?
Deputy Czapalay.
So we're just moving the Office of the Fire Marshal, and we've been looking at this potential for many months now, anticipating what hiccups might be there and how to overcome them. And we've addressed all the points that are obvious to us, so there will be no change in FTEs, no change in budget. The transition itself will be very smooth, and I have confidence in Mr. O'Toole and his team, as well as the team at the Fire Marshal's office, that they'll be able to address any potential challenges that emerge.
Thank you. MLA Sheehy Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to touch a little bit more on the coverages, and of course, when it was expanded, I was pleased to see the inclusion of both ovarian and cervical cancers for female members. I just want to know if you could share with me or with the committee any feedback that you might have received from your female members with regard to that expanded coverage.
Mr. Sears?
Thank you for the question through the chair. I would say that in Halifax specifically, like there's been a lot of different tactics with outreach, recruitment, and with our female members, the numbers have gone quite high, especially comparatively across the country. So when we speak to our female members and listen to what it is that they have to say about things that concern them, when it comes to the cancer legislation increases that then cover them, the feedback that we received is very positive, because it's just one less thing to think about when you're going through, whether it's fighting a house fire, a car fire, any other exposure to carcinogenics. And right now we know it's actually in our bunker gear, which is a big fight that we're going against as well. So to have these members that are new to the firefighting to feel that they're covered and supported and echo that back to us is a great thanks to all of you for putting it in place.
A quick follow-up with MLA Sheehy Richard.
I did just have a quick follow-up, if it's okay. I do know that even in my small rural community that of a member that had that struggle as well. So I just want to know a little bit more on the same point, if you can share with us how many firefighters, female members, might have been impacted by this change. Is there any? Do you have any numbers on that?
Mr. Sears?
Thank you. Through the chair, right now, part of what we're advocating for with early detection cancer screening, we don't have those numbers. We know that they're there anecdotally, but now it's time to prove them. And we can't prove them without access to screening. So to get that, to answer your question, I wish I could. But the reality is there's probably people walking around that are sick and don't know it, that are going to get to the point where then they get symptomatic and they're going to be too late to treat. So that's why when we talk about the access to cancer screening, access to physicians, that's the key that we're trying to get out in front of.
Our next round of questioners will be MLA Hanson, MLA McDonald, and MLA Young. So we'll go to MLA Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love the fact that listening to the the people who are doing the work on the ground is really important, and what I'm hearing is preventative measures, making sure that we have this information early so that we can be able to, at least address them or acknowledge them when they're happening so that we can continue to do the work and you all can continue to do the hard work that you do every day. My question is, our caucus has been advocating for changes to the occupational health and safety legislation that would see it include psychological health and safety. This would mean an employer has a responsibility under the law to take steps to protect employees from psychological injury. Nova Scotia is the only jurisdiction that does not have this protection. My question is to the members, would this make a difference for firefighters?
You have the middle seat, Mr. Sears, so we're going to go to you again on that one.
Thank you for the question through the chair. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because right now what happens across different provinces and even through some of the states with colleagues that I speak with is when a member finally puts up their hand and asks for help, it turns into a hot potato or a ping pong match of whose responsibility is it. And what I believe personally is that if the member received the injury from doing the work that the employer hired them to do, then that employer plays a large role in it. Simple. But how do we get there? So I think this legislation and then potential changes would be a start. Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. MLA McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just to go back to for when in 2010 when I joined, 160 hours all on weekends, 9.5 months, and I'm sure it's longer now because I'm sure there's been additional training. Before I was granted the access to be able to go into a burning building. So it's a lot of training, and I know for, and that's what I would call, it's level 1 trained, where Halifax would even go farther than that. And but for my question is, the government announced $3.5 million, which was $10,000 to every fire department, volunteer and First Nations, and I'd just like to know if anybody has a list of like some things that how it helped out the department, and if there's some examples of things that people were able to, I'm going to say purchase or do for their members with that money.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, through the chair. Very good question. That $3.5 million did make a big difference for volunteer fire service and Indigenous fire service across our province, and search and rescue as well. It was very important that we had the ability to get that fund. A lot of our rural fire departments were struggling during COVID. As you can imagine, most of our departments across our province, they do fundraising breakfasts and dinners and boot drives and so on and so forth. COVID took that ability away. So that $10,000 gave them the ability to have the funds to support their membership and all in numerous ways. There's not one example that I could give that's a solid example of exactly how they did it, but every department benefited from the benefits of that fund, especially around the social aspect of their members and the morale boost as well.
Thank you. MLA McDonald for a follow-up? No? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
MLA Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question would be to Deputy Czapalay. Are you able to speak more about the work between government departments to ensure firefighters' needs are being addressed?
Deputy Czapalay.
Thank you for the question, and perhaps I'll start and ask my colleague, Mr. O'Toole, to embellish my remarks, but I'll just use the example of the expanded cancer coverage and the fact that our team worked very closely with Department of Health and Wellness, as well as Municipal Affairs, as well as Workers' Compensation Board to determine, and our firefighter friends as well, to determine what the appropriate response was in terms of making recommendations to government. So the collaborative approach that was mentioned in the opening remarks is very much there, and it's really important in terms of coming up with innovative solutions that provide the best possible support to our firefighting community. I'll just see if Mr. O'Toole has anything else to add.
Yeah.
Mr. O'Toole.
Yeah, so, you know, that collaboration is really important, obviously, and you've heard Mr. Sears and Mr. Jones speak to enhanced screening for firefighters earlier in their remarks, and, you know, it might not fall in the domain specifically of LSI, you know, in terms of healthcare, but we're happy to take those issues and work with our government colleagues across departments to raise issues and identify those for our colleagues in other departments where it's helpful.
Thank you very much. MLA Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad my name got called really quickly. Our caucus has been advocating for a centralized registry of AEDs so that a dispatcher can direct people in an emergency to the closest device. The Heart and Stroke Foundation has also asked for this. I'm going to ask the members again, would this make a difference for firefighters and the people that they serve to have access sooner?
Mr. Nielsen.
Yes, I've been on the stakeholders committee with EHS as medical first responders for a number of years, and we've been following this and dealing with it. Would it help any easier access for the public to be able to access AEDs is definitely a benefit. One of the part of the program that they're supplementing in it is to actually put first responders, so if you're off-duty firefighter or public that can respond, know where the AED is going. So there's some software and some apps that are in the background to run that. As far as the fire service, the benefit would be is that if there's a difference in response time, if they can improve the response time to that person to get care, then the firefighter, that fire department that's arriving, it's definitely a benefit because it's going to help the patient, right? So as far as assisting the fire department personally or financially, doesn't make a big difference, but it will make the difference to the patient. Okay, thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. MLA Duale.
My question will be, Mr. O'Toole, with your branch, I'm just wondering, is there any fire prevention initiatives that your office is either looking for or involved in?
Mr. O'Toole.
Thanks for the question. Not immediately or directly that I can think of, but I would say more generally that our branch is responsible for compliance with respect to the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the Technical Safety Act, which are not directly fire related, but could be depending on the nature of the work that's being carried out on any given job site in the province. So if a safety officer, for example, encountered something from a work safe perspective that included fire or fire prevention, certainly that would be in scope for us. And the addition of the Office of the Fire Marshal to our team in April, there will be all kinds of opportunities for us to leverage the skill sets and expertise. Often we're in very similar places for very different reasons and with very different skill sets and expertise, but in the same place. And so there will be opportunities for us going forward to leverage the expertise across our occupational health and safety officers, our technical safety compliance officers, as well as the Office of the Fire Marshal going forward. So we think that this alignment will be a great addition to our safety mandate and give us opportunities to identify issues maybe that we wouldn't have before.
MLA Duale.
Quite honest, just giving you my own perspective coming from the fire service background. As my colleague Mike have mentioned, sometimes the issue of the fire service it comes that hot potato, and nobody knows who's responsible what. Municipal, provincial, this department, that department, and I really believe, I'm glad getting this information today. This office is joining. It's actually good things for me, in my perspective. So I'd like to see that these initiatives being brought one department, so things doesn't get lost. So I look forward to see what this new initiatives and what's the relationship of this office will bring to your leadership. So thank you for your answer.
MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to touch a little bit more on how important it is, the $10,000, as you made clear about the importance, especially in rural Nova Scotia, because the breakfasts and the car washes and all of that good stuff that members also work towards, buying equipment and whatnot. Can you share with us why it is so very important to continue to support firefighters in their facilities? Earlier this month, I was able to give out some Platinum Jubilee medals, and a couple of my recipients were volunteer firefighters. And if I had my way, I would have liked to have presented everybody with a medal that day. But they do so many things for our community, not just answering the call, but all of the things that build a community. And without volunteers, there really isn't community. So. If you could just elaborate on why it is so important for all those other elements as well.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for that question, and thank you for bringing up that topic. The first thing I'll say on the $10,000 that each department received, the best part of it all, there's no strings attached. The department had the ability to take those funds and use them as they so require for their members, which was truly important. I will say in a volunteer fire service, when you think of volunteers, a volunteer firefighter, our aspect is they get up in the middle of the night. They go to a call with a moment's notice. They leave their family, they leave their home and do what they need to do. They also leave their workplace. So think of how many workplaces that the 7,400 plus volunteer firefighters in our province leave their workplace every day and go to fire scenes and deal with situations. The support that the fire service receives around that funding and around acknowledgements like with the Queen Jubilee Medal, it makes a big impact, not only morale-wise, but on the ability and the acceptance of the fire service in our province. We have one of the bigger provinces in Canada that has the biggest base of volunteer fire service, and we're very lucky to have that. And if we didn't have that, there would be a completely different in the costs and so forth that would be there. But you know, each and every day, and I know one of the other members mentioned earlier, when he started with 160 hours he had to do, I can tell you the folks in my department, they do over 200. And many other departments, my colleagues can tell you from across the province, do well in excess of that. So the supports that we do receive and the acknowledgement that we do receive for what we do, it's really important regardless of what the situation is. And the final point I'll say on it is when you think back to last fall with Fiona, a lot of the career and volunteer and composite firefighters in our province dropped everything. And Fiona was our #1 priority, same as many other provincial departments and other groups. The support that we received after that was also really important towards us. And the supports that we received before that also assisted us with having a morale base to make sure that happened.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. So our next 3 questioners will be MLA McDonald, MLA Harrison, and MLA Burrow. So we'll go to MLA McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is going to be for Mr. Sears, so nobody has to guess. For the adding of the preventive, sorry, not the presumptive preventive, the presumptive. You mentioned that it was a process between Halifax Fire, FSANS, and the government. Can you explain like how that progressed and how you were able to get it done so quickly?
Mr.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mr. Sears.
Yeah, through the chair. So it actually began, I think, in 2017 with a bill that was placed on the floor through the NDP. And through that, it kind of evolved. And it went, again, all over the place, back and forth, here and there. Ended up going through an election cycle. And when we worked together with FSANS members, LSI, and Health, from the professional service, we brought another gentleman in from Manitoba, Alex Forrest. Alex is essentially the, in our world, we look at him as kind of the foremost firefighter cancer expert coming from our side. Mr. Forrest speaks in New Zealand, Australia. He's got observer status with IARC in France. And for us to have someone like him to then look at the specifics to professional service, for instance, look at the growth in Halifax, and we look at the fire service has not grown to match the growing city. Our members are working thousands of hours of overtime per year at straight time hours, and the exposures that they get are exponential. So from our side, to be able to bring that forward to our colleagues at LSI, and then to work with FSANS members and look at the unique exposures, transporting of gear, washing stations, exhaust extractors in the buildings themselves. So it's uniquely different issues, but it all affects us together. So to bring all of that together in an organized manner, to answer questions that people have that aren't in our field, it took a lot of time. But through that, you know, I keep hearing the word collaborative approach, and that's what it really is. You know, it takes a village, and it really did to get that legislation through. So we had a commitment from government. We had a lot of allies on all parties, and we had a willingness to get this done because it was needed. It's required, and that was step 1. But now we know that our members are sick and afflicted, and now it's moving towards the detection phase. And it will take time, but eventually it'll start to come down, and there's a lot of different metrics involved in it. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. I believe Mr. Gaudet, you'd like to answer as well?
Thank you. Just to add to that, I was president at the time when this was going down, and Brendan reached out, and the resources that they had already done all the homework, and it was mentioned earlier about reinventing the wheel. There was no sense of us reinventing the wheel. All we had to do was support what was going on, and it was they had the resources and they had all done all the homework. So for us, it was a no-brainer to just support them 100%. And I still talk to Brendan. I emailed him a couple weeks ago, actually. So the contact is still there. So it was good to work in partnership to move something such important forward. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much. MLA Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is going to be a two-part question. Maybe hard to answer, I'm not sure. But we are in the business of trying to make our province better in all kinds of ways. If you had just a really open mic here, how do you see the future of fire departments? What will that look like?
And that's to Mr. Jones?
Anyone that would like to answer that question?
That's a big question. You'll
That's
have
a big
about
question.
50
Yes, it
minutes
is.
at most. But Mr. Jones, we'll give you the mic.
Thank you through the chair. Very good question. I could talk for days on that subject, but I won't today.
50 minutes.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. What I will say is that the future of the fire service in our province, the biggest impact is around governance. How is the fire service going to be governed in our province? You know, in Nova Scotia, we are one of the provinces that the fire service doesn't have a one component of government that we go to directly, whether it be a fire commissioner or whatever. We are the one province that doesn't have that. You know, and one thing that does happen with not having that, it does not have a clear definition of how the fire service will move forward in the future. The way it is right now, it's open to interpretation by the fire service, how they like to evolve and move through. But without having that coordination piece or collaborative effort around it, it's kind of an open-ended answer, to be very honest. And I hate leaving open-ended answers because, for the simple fact that the future of the fire service is ever-changing. Strategically, we always change and adjust to whatever the current environment is. And we need to have a component that will coordinate all that and push it forward for the future.
Mr. Nielsen.
And to add to that, with 49 different municipalities that are actually the ones that put the fire service in place here in the province, the connection with the fire marshal's office does not have anything to do with operations. So to that end, I think it always comes back to standards. What do the municipalities need for standards or guidelines on how to put a fire service in place and actively in place, and to prepare for the future as we try and look at this province as we amalgamate, or I guess you don't like that word when it comes to municipalities, but you know, that the fact is we need to be able to work together. There are small departments within the province that are totally lost financially, totally lost with guidance, and until we fix that, there won't be a future for some of those fire departments. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for those answers. MLA Burrell.
Thank you. Deputy Czapalay, I wanted to ask about the funding of the expanded presumptive coverage. Our understanding is that that municipalities will, in coming years, are expected to be picking this up, I think 25, 26. But we have heard from a few different angles this morning about the difficulty of the uneven ability of municipalities to fiscally carry out the responsibilities they have to their local fire services. Does this, in your view, point to a need for there to be some provincial effort to cover some of that for those municipalities for whom this will be difficult? Or is there any planning along those lines?
Deputy Czapalay.
Well, thank you for the question, and we're always learning. I've already taken a couple pages of notes this morning, so appreciate the dialogue and the conversation. So as I mentioned, the province is covering the liability costs for the next few years. That total cost is $80.6 million. The ongoing costs would be about in the range of $4.4 million, and municipalities would take that cost on starting in 25-26. That was part of the discussion when we expanded the coverage, and we had that consultation with the municipalities, and that's where things stand right now.
MLA Burrell for a follow-up.
But would it not be true that there are municipalities who can take that cost on and there would be municipalities for whom that is, their ability to do that is very compromised. And is there not a role for the province there with that second group of municipalities?
Deputy Czapalay.
Yeah. So with labor, skills, and immigration, we don't deal directly with the municipalities in terms of their budget or anything like that, but the conversation today is important, and it's one that will continue our conversation with the municipalities and the firefighters that are with us. Yeah.
Thank you. MLA Hanson. Oh, sorry, MLA Young is next, then MLA Hanson, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 1 year ago, the government made changes to the tax credit for volunteer firefighters, acknowledging that the pandemic made it challenging to maintain regular schedules, but it did not alter the ongoing commitment of the volunteer firefighters and search and rescue teams to keep Nova Scotians safe. How many firefighters benefited from this change, and what has the feedback been from your membership?
I almost called you MLA Jones. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the question, for sure. You know, the tax credit for us in the fire service for the volunteer component, everybody in the volunteer fire service benefited from that. During COVID, which is different from regular practice, we always have the ability to meet the requirements for training and attendance and responding to calls with that to the hours of requirement. Unfortunately, during COVID, we couldn't do that. So by doing our meetings virtually and all that, we could count the meetings, but it wasn't the same. You couldn't hold a virtual meeting that went 3 and 4 hours or 8 hours to hold a full training event that fully keep everybody's attention. So by having that change a year ago, it did give the ability for the fire service to also continue to use that tax credit, which did make a big difference right across the board for our 7,400. Yep.
Thank you. MLA Hanson, MLA Duale, and then MLA Ince.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we know that being a first responder is very difficult these days, and it has been for a long time. It's not just these days, especially with the strain on our emergency health system and paramedics. Can you talk about, and this is to the members as well, can you talk about the impact of the health crisis on firefighters and as first responders?
Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, that one's dear to my heart. I guess the result in that is that it means longer time on scene for some of our firefighters for those medical calls. And again, of course, that also means the care that we have to provide for a longer period of time. Our firefighters are trained for that, so it's not that question. It is the fact of being able to have the good information come back so you know how long they're going to be, right? So for an example, just a couple weeks ago, we got a call for a person who was short of breath, has a cancer history, and we were originally told we were less than 30 minutes for arrival of paramedics. That turned into just under 2 hours. But during that, we were able to communicate back to the dispatch center to tell them that the patient, so hopefully we can be comfort that somebody else took the call for somebody who was in worse condition. So what it means to the firefighters, though, is the fact that it is stressful. Here we are trying to give comfort to the patient and family for extended periods, hours. And also what we end up dealing with paramedics that are under stress. So that becomes, that stress gets shared or, you know, so it compounds it. So whatever we can do to try and fix our systems to get in, the firefighters would definitely appreciate it. And sadly, we've had some fire departments stop giving that service. So I think that's another keynote where some departments just can't give that kind of commitment. And like Greg said here a while ago, we leave our jobs. To leave a job for 2 hours for a medical call does not seem reasonable. So, yeah. So, yeah, thank you for the question.
Mr. Sears, you'd like to answer that question as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And through the chair, you know, uniquely, my career is in the city. And when I hear long times on scene for fire crews that are tied up at a medical call, which we do have quite good training and we've got good equipment with us. But the issue that we have is where our city, the way we're staffed and deployed, if there's a fire truck tied up doing a medical call, then there's no fire truck in that zone. So the longer that health crisis goes on, where there's a shortage of paramedics available to respond, right now we're taking up a bit of that slack, but at the cost of being able to provide fire response. And in town, it's not uncommon to go half hour, 40 minutes, or even longer in some of our sort of outlying areas and communities. And, you know, I think that that's something that when you pick up the phone and call 911 and you need help, you don't want to hear it's going to be 40 minutes or an hour and a half, or we don't have someone to send, or, you know, so it does compound over. And then we talk too more about the exposure to the members. So with increased times on scene, increased depending on the level of the nature of the call itself, you know, it can be quite an exposure, you know, and it's then over and over and over again. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. MLA Diwali.
Yeah, this question will be Mike's. Nobody mentioned his name, so. First of all, I want to thank all of you, the service that you provide for our province and our communities, and I'm grateful for that. Secondly, Mike, knowing you long enough and being a champion of a fire service, especially when it comes to the mental health issues. And also, I commend you, your courageous personal decision to admit and to become an example, and to encourage your colleagues. It's okay to say I'm not okay. Yeah. It takes a lot. I know, we have a tradition of being the most heroes, but I really believe at the end of the day, we're human beings and we have feeling. And sadly, we have families that are dependent on us. Mm-hmm. So if we are not well, there's a ripple effect. Yeah. So I commend you for this. What I'd like to know this morning is being invested in this subject matter long enough, what government can do in order to help for the firefighters pertaining to mental health. Oftentimes, we react when something bad happens. But I really believe we do have the opportunity to prevent this to happen before people take their lives. Mm-hmm. So please, could you give the committee what are the needs of the firefighters, specifically mental health issues? Thank you.
Mr. Sears.
Thank you, and through the chair. It's a big one. So I would say, previous to the question that we spoke about potentially a change in legislation of who's responsible, you know, that's a big component right there. So if once we determine that, then it goes, okay, well now how do we fund what's needed? So, you know, like it's easy to say, well, we need education. Well, what's that look like? And how do you do it? Do you pull crews in off shift? Do you bring in volunteer members from their day-to-day? Like how do we align that with availability of resource? And then who is passing out the curriculum? How do we make it so that it's relevant? So it's partnering with, I think, my opinion, some of the different organizations and foundations that are across the country that are doing great work, independently funded. And they have teams of psychologists and clinically trained individuals that understand how to put us back together after we get to that point. So it's working with them to sort of reverse engineer it. In terms of funding is huge, funding and access to clinicians when you need them. But if it's, you know, whether it's recruit training on the volunteer side or career recruit training on the professional side, it's taking the time to really build a strong foundation under the members when they first enter the fire service, regardless of career volunteer, to educate them into the unseen hazards that they're going to face, and then how to recognize it. I think there needs to be family programs so that the family members around their firefighter can detect and see the changes. You've known me for almost 20 years. You know, I've lived by myself for most of the time. It took a while for people to see that there was something going on, and it took a while to address it. So it's I think having that conversation of normalizing. No one would talk, you know, strangely about I rolled my ankle last week. It would be, yeah, I rolled my ankle. Who cares? But with this stuff, there's such an apprehension, and you know, you and I both know people that really could use some help, but for whatever reason they don't come forward to get it. So it's kind of a long answer. It's a big question you've asked, and I'm definitely willing to go further on it if you require.
MLA Duale for a quick follow-up.
Yeah, so thank you, and I really believe it is something that need to be paid attention. But what I gather from your testimony is there is a need for legislature. There is a need for change. And what that look like, I don't know. But what I'm gathering from you today, within this committee, there is a need to change the structure, how we look at the fire service, and what needs to be done. And I'm assuming that is also accepted for the other guests who are here. Am I correct, Mr. Jones?
Yep.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Yes, very, very so. That is very correct. For us, prevention is golden. I've been at this, same as Mike, for well plus 20 years, and same as the rest of my colleagues. When we started, there was no conversation around mental health. There was no pre-education for it. And I think that's a component that's been missed. We need to have that pre-education component. We need to prepare members right from the get-go and have the information to reduce that stigma and move forward. We have to have that happen.
Thank you very much. MLA Inns.
Thank you. Given the current challenges that are evident with climate change, can you speak to, any one of you, speak to the challenges that you have fighting forest fires, or even with new materials and buildings that are probably making it very challenging for you to fight fires?
Mr. Jones.
Thank you through the chair. Very good question. I will tell you that in my career, building materials have vastly changed. The products that, simple little tables and chairs that are made of have changed. Fire develops a lot faster. And the buildings that fire develops in and vehicles burn completely different than they did 20 years ago. Climate change for us does have a major impact. Fire service strategically will make changes no matter what. We'll make it work, and we'll deal with situations. The problem comes is that as our climate changes and evolves over time, it's more work for us to be involved in. And when we go back and we look at Fiona last year, for the fire service, that was a big deal. It didn't affect every individual fire service in our department, in our country, or province, but it did affect the ability of what we had to do and what we brought to the table. And as most of you seen and others would have seen, the fire service, regardless of volunteer, career, or composite, we all came up to the plate, we did what we had to do, and we got the job done. But climate change always has an impact. We always take the time to have attentiveness to the subject and ensure that we're prepared for it. As simple as electric vehicles seem to be, and I know my colleague Mike and the rest of them can agree, electric vehicles scare us because the technology has changed so much in the last 10 years. Now they're talking about a new change 3 years out. So for a fire service, even though it may not seem to be an issue that affects our environment or climate, it does at the end of the day. And the ability for us to deal with those fires is immense. It takes forever to deal with an electrical fire. So to answer your question properly, it changes all the time, and we have to be prepared to meet that challenge no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you very much. MLA McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we talked a lot about training, so I'd just like to know if you could give me any feedback on the effectiveness of the insurance levy to help with some training offset and the effect on members. Oh, yeah, looks like Mr. Jones is all ready to deal with that one, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Jones, we'll go to you.
Thank you through the chair. Very good question. I will tell you the volunteer insurance levy and the rest of the past presidents here with me, they can echo it as well. It has made a big difference for the fire service. It gives us the ability to train our individuals to be prepared for motor vehicle accidents. That funding has had a great impact on all of us, really, across the service. I started as a volunteer firefighter, and towards the end of my volunteer career, before I became a career member, I had the ability to use that volunteer insurance fund to get training. Now we're at the point now we're doing level 1 training with it, components. We're doing hazardous materials components, which in the past, we wouldn't have been able to fund that for rural departments that wouldn't have to be involved in hazmat. Now we have the ability to give them the information and have them train for that. Lately, we have started some work around heavy rescue training as well. So that's something we never really had in the province before. We never spent a lot of time on. That fund has given us the ability to do that. And the insurance levy fund, I could talk about it for hours because the benefits of it to members across our province has been really, really important and really appreciative.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Nielsen.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Just want to add that the relationship between us, that program used to be managed by the Office of the Fire Marshal, and it has since changed back to finance. And we missed the relationship with the Office of the Fire Marshal because of their knowledge of the fire service and being able to make good judgment on what funds get to what department. So we missed that relationship.
Thank you. MLA Harrison, MLA Sheehy-Richard, and then MLA Burrell.
Thank you. If I did not say it before, most of my experience has been with volunteer communities. And I have an extremely high respect and appreciation for what they do. There's no question. Going back to my further question, if you could name 3 actions that you would love to see take place to further, what would they be?
So, Mr. Jones, that's quite a task you to
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair, that is quite a task, a very good question. My 3 very top ones would be, 1 is a focus on firefighter mental health and cancer. That's my number 1. My number 2 is a focus on finding a solution that meets the needs of everybody for operational dispatch in our province. And my 3rd one is around collaboration and governance of the fire service. It doesn't matter if it's volunteer or career competent. All 3 of those affect each one of those branches, and it's imperative that we focus on those 3.
Thank you very much, guys, for what you do.
Great. Thank you. Very good question.
MLA Sheehy-Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to touch on something that not all fire departments have the pleasure of having, but I do know that one of the local ones around my area, Brooklyn Fire Department, has what they call a cadet or a junior program. And, you know, when we talk about support for firefighters and the amount of hours for training, you know, my husband, to his dismay, we had 3 boys and none of them, unfortunately, followed in his footsteps, but my brother-in-law, my niece, is part of that cadet program. So can you just maybe talk about how a young cadet program might benefit the recruitment aspect of the volunteer fire service in particular?
Mr. Jones.
Thank you through the chair. Very good question. Volunteer firefighter programs and candidate programs, they're very beneficial to recruitment of new members. You know, I'm an example of that. As a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter. That's what I wanted to do. And then I decided later on in life, no, I want to go to the military. Well, I came back to firefighting in the end. When I was a kid, I didn't have the opportunity to have a junior program or a cadet program. We're starting to see an increase in cadet programs across Atlantic Canada. There's a lot of departments that are starting to do it now. My department, we've been doing it for the last 10 years, but various departments in our association have taken that on. The cadet program is a little different than firefighting. The cadets do not get to go on the operational side. They don't get to go out on the field and go to calls. In many cases, they don't get to wear the bunker gear that we would normally wear. They have bunker gear that's cleaned and made just strictly for use not on an emergency ground. But the cadets get the opportunity to do everything we do outside of that. So they get the ability to find out what it's like to be a firefighter, the training that we do, the equipment that we use. They get to have the ability to see all that, and it gives them the opportunity to get the sense of, do I want to join the fire service, or do they want to try the cadet program and come back to the fire service in 5 or 10 years? I have individuals for me in my organization that they left our community, they went away to university, they've come back to our community to work now, and they've become volunteer firefighters and continue to this day. So the cadet programs do have a very vast ability to assist. The important part is how we use that ability to make it work and make it work properly for us in a safe manner. And I'll also let Mr. Nielsen speak on that subject.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Again, we have varying types of cadet programs across the province, bring every department to department. Definitely encourage it. It's one of those hard parts today with our new generations to be able to work with them and bring them into a professional kind of side. Most of the youth today have very different from our experience in the cadet programs as well. The other thing is there is in the Department of Education, there is something in the curriculum that is available. It was brought, and I can't remember the year, but I was president at the time, I believe in the South Shore Shelburne area, where they actually introduced into the curriculum of the high school program. And I would like to us, even as an association, to revisit that, see how we can make that more successful. We know it's always a challenge to get into the curriculum in the high schools, even for first aid. So we would love to do that further. I know some places in Newfoundland, they're very successful, putting it in the curriculum. And it's sort of like the old 4-H programs. It learns how to run a business meeting. They learn how to do all kinds of things that would help them in anything they do, not just firefighting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. MLA Burrell.
Deputy Czapalay, I'd like to ask about the scope in time of the presumptive coverage. So my understanding is that the expanded benefits covers diagnoses which come since July of 21. I'm wondering, was consideration given to diagnosis before that time, or is that consideration being given now to expanding that or reaching back further?
Deputy Minister Czapalay.
Yeah, I don't think any consideration's been given to that.
Pardon me? Well, the chair has left me at the helm, and I don't see anybody else on his list for questions unless there's another member that had any. MLA Burrow?
This is not a follow-up to my previous question.
No, this is an additional.
Well, I would like to go back to the question of the changes of flammability that you raised earlier. This is something that comes up a lot. The building structures, the building code, the kind of household articles that Mr. Jones was mentioning. So does this mean that we need to look at the kind of increased funding that would make quicker response times possible? Is that what really the increase in flammability is really saying to us? Could I ask that to Mr. Sears and Mr. Jones and Nielsen?
Mr. Sears, if you'd like to begin.
Sure, I know. It's a hard one to answer. Wrong mic. There you go. Okay, yeah. Thank you for the question through the chair. I would say from my experience as a professional firefighter and seeing the district I work in is in Clayton Park, and it's exploding up there. Like there's a city in between Bedford and Clayton Park now that it would be a great spot to put a fire station. When we look at the building construction itself, how fast structures burn because of the materials that are in them, in my house, I've got true dimensional lumber. My stair treads are 2x6, 2x8, and when I look at some of the things on our new walkthroughs of buildings, to see OSB stair treads and OSB stair stringers, it's going to burn a lot quicker. There's no way around that. So to say that getting more members on scene quicker to fight a fire that's burning hotter and faster while burning dirtier and giving off more carcinogenics to the members that are being exposed, of course, yeah, like it shouldn't be an argument at all, and yet it is. So it's when we talk back about like the growth of the services to support the needs, that's a discussion that really needs to be had, and I think it likely affects on the volunteer side as well.
Mr. Jones, I understand you want to answer.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I will say the funding would help around the response for the changes in how products are made and how buildings are made and how they burn. The problem would be, and the situation that we have is that in rural Nova Scotia, it's the ability of how it affects fire departments. In rural Nova Scotia, unlike in the bigger municipalities where we have career staff, rural Nova Scotia doesn't have that. Folks need to leave their place of employment, go to the fire hall in some cases, hop on the fire truck and get to the scene. There needs to be other supports around how to get equipment there quicker, but potentially it's not around the funding aspect of it. So sprinklers for sure in buildings is something that we've talked about in the past. Adding that to the building code, to requiring residential homes to have a sprinkler system in them, that will also reduce the ability for us to deal with carcinogenics up front. It reduces the buildup of the fire and also helps us in our job at the end of the day.
MLA Burrell for a follow-up.
My question is not a follow-up, but a new question, so I'd be happy to go in the queue if there are others.
Yeah, okay, I'll put you in the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. MLA Dually.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Mr. Neal, I just want to follow up your response of earlier question. Really interesting for the school curriculum program. And these are the things that I'm in favor. And this kind of idea is based on preventable. And also to build the next generation to be mindful, especially when it comes to fire service. Would you mind to elaborate what was the program, what was entailed, and where the cracks fall in order to avoid this to happen in the future? Because oftentimes we see good ideas come out, but they disappear, and nobody's accountable for it. Thank you.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you through the chair. We're at fault as FSANS actually not following up on that. One thing that we see that happens, and we don't care for it to happen, is a lot of these initiatives come from one MLA or one area of the province and doesn't really get related to the whole province. So as FSANS, we're trying to capture that so it doesn't get lost. To answer your question directly, where is it? I will get you some more details because we are at fault of not keeping up with it. I know somewhere in the Cape Breton Island, somebody else has done it as well through the same program. Totally with you. I think it's important for the generations. I see some of our grade 12s, 11, or high school group have their leadership programs. I think it could blend very easily in with that as well. So we will get back to you with the details and where it lies within the curriculum and the success of the departments that are using it. We'll get back to you.
Thank you. MLA Dually for a follow-up.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just one thing, I think it's one thing that I'm really, really interested in, and I'm going to say this openly today. It is something that I have a passion. It's actually one of the things that I enter politics. Mike Sears knows it is something that will stay the rest of my life. I'm sure some of you can recall a Borho family fire. We lost 7 children in this city and this province, and we have done nothing. Zero action. and with nobody's fault other than this is the nature of how we do business. Things happen and nobody takes accountability. So I am committed for the fire service and the protection and the fire prevention in this province. I'm not the expertise, but you are. And I'm seeking your support and your expertise and your wisdom in terms of the fire service. So I look forward to touch the association and to engage and to come up a better future for our province and our children. I'm not actually sure who has the record of the fire fatalities in this province. And oftentimes we see most of them are children who are innocent, who have no idea who takes this responsibility. So I really believe I'm with you with this, and I look forward to work with the association. And I hope my colleagues will pay attention to this, because fire have no boundaries, It doesn't matter who you are and where you live. So I thank you for your service and your vision. Thank you.
Thank you. MLA Burrow.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Jones and Mr. Nielsen. When we speak to people from volunteer departments, or including volunteer departments that have career people in them, and if you ask, well, what's the greatest challenge? What's the greatest problem? What's the thing that's holding you back the most? It's often the subject is around recruiting, developing new people. So I feel like we ought not to leave our discussion today without providing you an opportunity to say something about what you think the province could do to address this great concern across the province.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you, through the chair. Very good question. I will say that recruitment and retention for members and the development of members when they start in the fire service, whether career or volunteer, it's very crucial that we have the tools available to actually bring them in and continue them down the road of success. Some departments, we've seen individuals start in the program and then decide, you know what, it's too much for me. I'm giving too much of myself to the rest of the public, it has some effect to that. So the tools that are required to make that happen are the supports that we have, the mandate for the fire service and what it actually means to be a volunteer, and the functionality and the morale boost that we have. As simple as it may sound, for the fire service to have volunteer tax credit availability, emergency service provider fund to support the request for funding and the cost for funding for equipment, license plates and all that. It may seem like a minor support. It's a big support to the membership, and it's a big draw to pull folks into the fire service as well and maintain them. The unfortunate part is if some of those supports went away, members of the fire service unfortunately would leave. So it's very important, and one of the keys for our association is to continue that, to keep the gold standard up, as was said earlier on, for the fire service, and make sure that everybody has the ability and the coverage of what we need and the morale boost to keep us moving forward.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yes, thank you for that question. Some of the things your question was on what tools and whatever we can do. We're sort of unique here in Nova Scotia. As I traveled as the president of this association across Canada for multiple years, I became very aware sitting in a meeting one day when they went around a room such as this and they looked at me and said, thank you for being here. And I said, well, I'm very glad to be here. So they talked about the different things. I was there on my own dime. I was on vacation to be able to go. Yep. So those things are a challenge for the fire departments and the fire service as FSANs to be able to function, to be able to be one of those tools to help the other departments. We're struggling as a group. Here we are invited down here today. How do we pay for us to even get here, right?
And we've got work for today.
Yeah. So one of the challenges, to even support FSANs financially, we're struggling, and to convince others that, for us to be doing business on your behalf, it costs money. So we need that. The other thing that I realized too, traveling across Canada, we call ourselves volunteer firefighters here in Nova Scotia. We are the only province in Canada that is truly volunteer. We don't get paid. You take parts of New Brunswick, parts of Quebec, everywhere. They're paid on call. Ontario, they say they have volunteer firefighters. They're paid on call. So they're making sometimes more money than our rural firefighters in their regular day jobs. So if we look at what we can do to help, is to be able to support FSANS to be able to give us the tools in some financial manner. And the other one I always look at is leadership. Today with our multiple generations, I look at my generations. I got 14-year-olds in our cadet program, and I have 80-year-olds that are support people. And we learn different, we talk different, and we need to be able to educate those all the way up through. So some of the tools would be, how do we deal with people? Because what it comes down to, when we have problems in a fire department that's falling apart, it's usually personal issues. Not always financial, it's usually personal issues. And we don't even have in our group across, do we have consistent bylaws? Do we have consistent GOGs or guidelines for each one? We don't. And we don't have standards. We have 0 standards. FSANS creates a few guidelines for different departments to do. We have uptake, but there's no mandate. We can't introduce a standard with the governance that we currently have. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much. Now, I would remind you that you might be aware that the clerk you can reach out to the clerk because some more expenses are covered for you today. Like transportation, meals, we can't pay your wages for lost work today. But reach out to the clerk. There are some things that could be covered for your appearance today. Oh, Mr. Nielsen.
COVID has helped that situation. We, as a group with between EHS, the Fire Marshal's Office, we would not meet. And I believe that financial was part of the problem, to bring us up and pay us a meal and pay our gas expenses. We have met more now since COVID through Zoom and whatever. I don't think that's going to change. I hope it's not going to change, because some of our meetings where we used to meet maybe twice a year, maybe even once a year, we're meeting at least quarterly. And I think that's a big help. And if that's the financial part of it, we'll live with that. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that. MLA Sheehy Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to know if we could expand, we have a little bit of time left, a little more on the challenges for recruitment versus the volunteer and the paid firefighter. If we could go into a little bit more detail on how those challenges are.
So we'll begin with Mr. Sears to begin.
Thank you for the question through the chair. So here in Halifax specifically, the department announces a recruiting, and it's posted in a lot of different forums. In between recruiting, they do a lot of outreach. So there's members specific to our department that go and outreach and engage different communities and different groups, and to try to get a wide variety of people to apply for a career in firefighting. So once the recruitment starts, it typically takes about 6 months to go through. And then successful applicants are placed in a career recruit training program, which I think right now is about 16 to 18 weeks, 4 days a week. And then they move from there into responding to emergencies, being in the stations. So on our side, it's pretty straightforward. The process hasn't really changed much in many years. We just started a new class, I think, earlier this week. I think it's 25 members in training right now. Yesterday, yeah. So that's kind of how it works for the career side, and I think the other 3 professional services in Nova Scotia is fairly similar, but I think it's like slight differences. But
Mr. Roper, I see you getting into position. You'd like to answer this as well?
Thank you to the chair, Mr. Chairman. Yes, a very interesting question and a very a subject that's been challenging for the last number of years, especially on the volunteer side. Many factors affect it. The migration out west of young people has been a big issue. We bring a young person into the fire service, spend upwards of $10,000 by the time we outfit them with turnout gear, provide training for them, and complete that training. and then they move on to a job out west and either become transient and travel back and forth and have 1 week off to do everything, the honey-do list, for lack of a better term, and don't have time for the fire service sort of thing. That's a big challenge. So the idea of keeping the younger generation here at home is one answer to that. Hopefully through new employment that can happen. I had a senior firefighter who's long past now, but he always told me, he said, once you get them in the door, he said, you get that hook in them, you can keep them. And that's, I think you see evidence of that here. We've been here a long time. So it's a matter of having programs, and like you talked about, small things like license plates and tax credits for young families. That's a savings. That's a couple $100s a year, but that's something that I don't have to spend. So those things are very beneficial. Recruitment and retention tools, the WCB, the cancer coverage, things like that. Those are all policies and programs that we push big time when we do. We just did a door-to-door campaign. We have a brochure, and those are all mentioned, that those programs are available. You're covered under WCB when you're on a fire scene as part of the fire service. Those kind of programs are exceptional recruitment and retention policies, and I think we only have to build on those and think about those, how we can provide that, how we can develop training programs that fit into schedules for younger people, people with family lives. It's difficult to give up a whole weekend when you've got 2 young children at home, things like that. So how do we diversify that? The fire school in the province here has gone to a lot of online courses. Those are beneficial. People can do that after their kids go to bed. You could spend a couple hours doing a training program. So there are some initiatives out there that I've worked on. There are probably many more. I think a roundtable discussion with members of the fire service, we could put a lot more together there, and I think that's what we need. Again, part of that collaboration and cooperation program sort of thing. So I think there are ways we can do it. I think it's challenging, and it will be challenging. There is some of the demographics. We look at rural areas growing in population, but it tends to be an older generation. Now, there are positions for older people in the fire service. We need truck drivers. We need people to do traffic control, communication. So they're available to do frontline attack and interior attack. You need young, healthy, young people that can do that, and to get them close to the community that can respond in a hurry. Having employers that are willing to let people go is another one. There's a key program through the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs where we recognize those people, those employers that let you drop what you're doing and run out the door, and sort of thing. So there are all kinds of initiatives there. I guess it's a matter of getting the bodies in place to use them and work on them, sort of thing. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. MLA McDonald, and then MLA Ince, and there's just roughly over about 4 minutes left. So MLA McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just saying, he must think I'm going to ask a long-winded question. I'm just saying. So you touched on rural and urban, and of course, where I live, it's new interchange we're about, and Mr. Nielsen knows because he's been down there. They're talking, 7,000, 8,000 people are going to be there in the next 7 to 8 years, which will be huge. But what are the different demands of trying to get rural versus urban volunteers and paid to it? Because there is a difference, totally difference in rural, because to your point, if they can't make the truck, sometimes they just decide, well, if I can't make the truck, why am I coming? So I'll let whoever wants to hit that one. Oh.
Hey, Mr. Nielsen.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for the question. That's very interesting, and communities change from community to community, so you can't just paint it with one brush, of course. But your growing community can be very diverse. You don't know who's coming in. You don't know if they're, our good old Atlantic Canadian citizens that want to help out in the community. Our rural ones are probably, you emphasize on community. You emphasize on the things that you can do for the community. When it comes to rural, it's a little more difficult to do that, but it's still a component. If you want to be part of the community, fire department's one place to be. Lions Club, a few others, but the fire department blends you in. We had somebody just join our department in the last 2 years, immigrated here from England and didn't know anybody, had no connections. His wife was here for an educational session. So anyway, that's how he got entered in the community, and it's paid off in dividends. So as I said, you can't paint it with one brush, but your growing communities are going to be a challenge for us to be able to have people in, and how you publicize it is going to be crucial.
Thank you. MLA Ince?
Thank you all. We've spent a lot of time today talking about the challenges and everything else, so I want to ask, what excites you about firefighting and what changes are happening that excite you? Any one of you?
I like ending on a happy note, so we'll give this to Mr. Jones. Wait, about a minute, just over a minute to go. A minute to. Mr. Jones.
Thank you to the chair. Very good question. I'll tell you what excites me is the ability for me to come to work every day on behalf of the fire service as the president of this association to deal with situations and make change and be collaborative on it. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the fire service in our province every given day, good and bad. And the ability for us to have the opportunity to collaboratively work on issues and change them, not just for now, but for the future. When I started, there were individuals that didn't have that ability. Today, we're moving in the right direction. The other thing that excites me is the ability that, for me, my family supports me in what I do. And all the other fire service members and my colleagues can support this across the province are in the same position. My wife lets me go to fire scenes. My wife lets me go to work, and so do my kids at the end of the day. Without their support and without the support of everybody else we have in Nova Scotia, fire service couldn't do what we actually do each and every day. So to answer your question, that's what excites me. And that's what excites most of our members is the ability to have supports and to go out and do exactly what we want to do. I didn't pick the fire service because it was the best thing or the shiny red truck or whatever. I picked it because it was something I wanted to do to support my community and support each other. And that's why I support and enjoy the fire service.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that concludes our question period. We don't have any committee business, so we will allow for any final brief comments you may want to make, anybody. And if did you have any final comments you'd like to make as a closing statement? If not, this has been a fantastic meeting today, and I can speak for all our committee and reiterate what's been said to thank you. I mean, I took a lot of notes today as well, a lot to learn and a lot to take forward, and thank you again to those of you who risk your lives and your health and safety for all of our communities and our families. And I'm fortunate to represent very good fire departments through Kingston, Green, and Aylesford, Berwick, Waterville. And just on behalf of all of our constituencies, thank you for what you do. And we'll look forward to having further conversations. So that concludes our committee business, our business today with you. And so I guess with no other committee business, I'll call for an adjournment for the meeting.
You want to set the next meeting first?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, thank you.
You're really in a rush to get.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies. Next meeting is technically scheduled for March 28th, but we know that, oh yeah, we will have that meeting for agencies, boards, and commissions. That'll be on March 28th from 10 to 11 a.m. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.